Hey, this is Steven Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus AEW Dark from December 15th, 2020. Um, a show that was slightly shorter and slightly less matches than we've been seeing. I believe it's AEW Dark 66. A running time of an hour and 53 minutes and 14 matches. Who child? Let's jump into it. For those of you who are listening for the first time, I have a 3-check system for all matches. Since most of the matches will be enhancement matches or jobber matches where one person completely dominates the other, and the match is my favorite stipulation, the foregone conclusion match, let's just say. 3-check system works like this. The person who is supposed to get put over, if they are put over in strong fashion, they get a check mark. If they look great in the process, then they get a second check mark. And then if the person who is doing the enhancing, the jobber, does an exceptionally good job, or if they are made to look good by their opponent, given some offense, that kind of thing, then you get a third check mark. Now, for matches of a competitive nature, of which are kind of rare on AEW Dark, even the matches they say are competitive really are foregone conclusion matches. But in this case, if they label something, the main event, that kind of thing, and in this case, it's the Chaos Project against Best Friends, they get 3 check marks if, 1, the teams look good against one another and in the ring. 2, we have a definitive finish that is satisfying. And then a third check mark if something, an angle or an aspect of the characters themselves, are advanced in a way that could be used on a future AEW Dark episode, or more importantly, for Dynamite. So usually that entails, a confrontation of some kind with another entity that can lead to a match, etc., etc., etc. So let's jump into it. And I almost always assign a enhancement performer of the week. I love to give props to those who I see doing an exceptionally good job or who are steadily improving, in the hopes that they will get signed. And since most of the people who listen to this are the young wrestlers on AEW Dark, I like to give a bit of advice. Sometimes it can seem kind of harsh, but at the end of the day, it is all for advancement and improvement, and it is, after all, just my opinion. Match. Oh, we got Anthony Ogogo, who I think is getting better at this commentary thing. I think they're smart to only have him do a few matches and then take a break. Taz and Excalibur. Opening match, Ricky Starks with Powerhouse Hobbs there against Sothorayara. Chun. Ricky Starks beats him by pinfall. At one point, Hobbs helps him on the outside of the ring. So we're clearly establishing that Team Taz are cheaters. Ricky Starks has gotten to be very good, one of the best at working with enhancement talent in this dark format. And I like that he's using this brutal-looking spear as a finisher once in a while instead of the Rochambeau. I think it looks a little more effective. And as they go to into war with the Nightmare family, I think the spear will serve him better than the Rochambeau. 3 check marks. Moving on. Match number 2. Brandon Cutler against Baron Black. Baron Black really had a breakthrough last week on AEW Dark. First time I thought he looked really, really great. And instead of having him in these sort of makeshift tag teams or 6-man teams, he's getting another solo match against Brandon Cutler. A very good match, one of the best of the show, in my opinion. Brandon Cutler wins with that double knee gutbuster thing. Serviceable, really good. Baron Black, as he feels more confident, you can actually see his ring work improving, and it's lovely. And Brandon Cutler, of course, knows his way around a wrestling ring. This match looks good. 3 check marks. Match number 3, Hikaru Shida against Kylan King. Kylan King, one of my favorites. I don't even really consider her an enhancement talent anymore, if I'm being honest. They've given her some wins. They're putting her in these prominent matches. Hikaru Shida, again, I think really holds her own and continues to improve. I'm glad she hasn't been, the title hasn't been taken from her and then lost in the shuffle. I love her as the AEW Women's Champion for the nonce, and has a really good match with Kylan King, wins by pinfall. Hikaru Shida, so strong that even Kylan King towering over her, it doesn't look awkward, and Shida beats her with the Falcon's Arrow. And they appear that they've given up this Queen of Crazy thing with Kylan King. Thank fucking God, because I thought it was terrible. And I don't think Kylan King needs it. Then we get some Abaddon stuff after the match. And Abaddon sneaks in kind of clever fashion and grabs her in that Black Widow. I hate Abaddon doing the Black Widow. However, if they're going to do it, at least this is the cleanest. And most easily, she has executed it. All right, we get an ad for the Young Bucks book as they strive to be in the top 10. And I think that's really cool. I, of course, have studied the Young Bucks book and covered it chapter by chapter in various videos. I highly recommend you check out that Young Bucks book and, of course, the videos where I'm looking at the same. Then we get an episode of The Waiting Room, and last week's was the first time I thought Waiting Room was highly successful, and they stick to the things that worked. And now they've even focused those deliberately terrible monologue jokes on all the matches on Dynamite, which I thought was really cool. And the homemade applause sign is ridiculous. Sean Spears, this was his chance to sort of banter back and forth with Britt Baker, but he didn't really take advantage of that. Tully Blanchard talked a little bit more, but when the knock at the door and then they open it and Marco's there with his guitar and the nice little wave, like, yeah, can I play this week? And Sean Spears slams the door. What a heel move by Sean Spears. And then lightly, it's knocked on again, and you're expecting to see a very humbled Marco Stunt begging to get in. Instead, surprise, it's Scorpio Sky who attacks Spears. They end up putting a hole in the wall together. They finish this segment quickly, which I think was to their advantage. And, of course, Britt Baker gets in a couple other jokes. Don't worry, Tony, we'll fix it. That kind of thing. Highly successful again. They are now on a winning streak of 2 for the Waiting Room, which sounds like I'm being patronizing. It's the opposite. I appreciate that they're trying stuff, but then also sticking to the things that work as they continue to shape and figure this thing out. Next match, Jurassic Express, the threatening one, with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus with Marco Stunt. Defeated Fuego del Sol and Sean Dean by pinfall. Sean Dean looks so fucking great. His gear looks great. His offense looks good. I notice he's getting more and more varied kinds of offense as well, which I think looks really effective. He looks great doing it. Fuego del Sol does his thing, of course, and then, of course, at some point goes for the Tornado DDT, whereas if you're someone who follows Dark regularly, especially if you follow Being the Elite, you know, if I ever nail this Tornado DDT, it's over, so they always have to work that in there. But a good match, 3 check marks. And Jurassic Express have finally found a finisher that's fucking great. That flippity-doo into a powerbomb thing completely works, and I'm so glad to see them getting away from that wheelbarrow cutter bullshit. Yeah. Leva Bates defeated Skylar Moore by pinfall, and this is probably too much inside shit. I don't know how many people listen to this, but I noted right away, I think Skylar Moore and John Cruz are a thing, and Leva Bates and John Cruz used to be a thing. So, yeah, no, nothing was made of that, but I certainly noted it, and I thought it was interesting. Leva Bates wins with a victory roll, which is better than the sort of roll-up variation she did last time. She still does the thing where she befriends Skylar Moore. I mean, give her points for at least promoting the Bucks book all over her match. And this match was certainly better than the last one she had. I think Skylar Moore and her had a good chemistry there. And a victory roll feels like a better thing than what she did last time. So I'm going to give it 2 check marks, but not 3, though I do think Skylar Moore did a really, really good job with Leva Bates here. I think Leva Bates needs to find an even harder edge, and if she's going to do roll-ups, okay, I would just like to be that incorporated into the story of the match instead of I wrestle, and then I'm going to do this roll up, when it's never a thing where I've done a series of clever pins or that's the goal of my match. I don't know. It just feels whatever. It reminds me of, you know, a good Tim Horner match was him sort of working different angles to try to get a pinfall and then winning with his like O'Connor roll. The weird matches where he was like slug it out and beat it, and then he would do the O'Connor roll. I know that seems like a weird distinction, and I'm being too picky, but why not? That's what I'm here to do. Next match, FTW champion Brian Cage and VSK. Brian Cage, for a guy his size, is so good and so almost too giving. And he gives the guys all this offense to make sure they look great. But he wins with the drill claw. And it's 3 check marks. And Brian Cage, again, looks really, really strong. But just doesn't seem to have the heart to squash these guys into nothing. So he gives VSK a nice long run of varied offense. Third, it's just the best the Acclaim has looked. The Acclaimed of Anthony Bowens and Max Caster defeats Louis Vale and Mike Magnum by pinfall. I like the look of Mike Magnum. Louis Vale always does a good job, or does a good job here. The match itself is good and gets 3 check marks. The battle rap, it falls completely flat at the end. Once he hits the Pornhub line, you could tell he forgot where to go, didn't really have a plan where to go, and didn't come up with anything very good. And why am I bringing this up? If this is going to be their gimmick, then that shit's got to be tight. The best homages are the ones where things are done earnestly and well. Man, that weird slam thing followed by the elbow is a shit finish for the Acclaimed. I've just come up with a team thing that's better than that. But their double team stuff, like in the middle of the match, where like one would hit the move and another would hit a move and one would hit a move, and that stuff looked great. It's the best they've ever looked, but that finisher sucks ass, my opinion. Next match, Anna Jay defeated Dani Jordyn by submission. You can tell that, my God, these two have worked together before. Chemistry was there. Dani Jordyn looks great. She must have dropped at least 20 pounds. And Anna Jay and her moved. It's the best Anna Jay has looked in a match. 3 check marks for sure. Dani Jordyn may win Enhancement Talent of the Week. It was really good. They had a bunch of shenanigans with the burn book, and then it ended with Anna Jay going into that Queen Slayer rear naked choke. The only problem is they use a rear naked choke in at least 2 or 3 other matches, not as the finish, but as prominent moves within the match. I don't know, man. I just always feel like AEW needs a freaking person there to just make sure that we're not stepping on each other's shit. It just lessens the effect when somebody's finisher is used as just another move in transition for other people. Next match, Dark Order's Evil Uno. Stu Grayson taking on Bear Country. Bear Country? Man, I think these boys have gotten themselves a gig for a few shows. Just the right kind of tag team for people to have to go over. That Bear Country thing where they both hit fucking like cannonball sentons was fucking phenomenal. Pretty Peter joins us on commentary for just about the rest of the show. And when him and Taz were kind of going back and forth, it ranged from very amusing to I've had enough of this shit. Just being honest. Bear Country was great. They lose to the Fatality. 3 check marks. Bear Country, definitely high marks from me. And Evil Uno and Stu Grayson look good and solid as always. Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela take on Ryzen and Sean Maluta. Everybody knows that I'm a big fan of Ryzen. I think he's good looking. I like his look. I like the way he wrestles. I like that he kind of goes all out. I like that he's willing to job. I like all that stuff about him. Sean Maluta, very similar. And this kind of finish for Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss works. A brain buster from Janela followed by that second rope leg drop by Sonny Kiss. That's all she wrote. 3 check marks. Not a lot to say or criticize about this match. So we're moving on. The Bucks book is promoted yet again. Next match. A very good outing for Tay Conti as she takes on Freya States, who's much bigger than she is. But I like that they wrestled their size. Tay Conti's trying to get the much larger Freya into submission holds, unable to do it, having to adjust to that. Instead of Freya just pretending we're the same size and we just go through a regular wrestling match, the story was Tay Conti trying to figure out Freya and Freya trying to figure out Tay Conti. At the end of the day, Tay Conti with a really cool looking choke and a cool way of getting into it gets the submission win. A good look, 3 check marks. Matt Sydal against Danny Limelight. Matt Sydal really let Danny Limelight look good in this one. And then Matt Sydal finally wins. You know, he's been using submissions, but then lately having to go to this thing where it's kind of like the angle slam, but he kind of turns them in. So it kind of feels like a crossroads combined with the angle slam, and wins with that. But definitely, you know, Matt Sydal works hard out there, and Danny Limelight is made to shine a little bit by Matt Sydal. 3 check marks. Ivelisse with Diamante there, and Diamante factored in these cool ways during the match, which you sort of distract Casey Lennox. Casey Lennox, big girl. And I say that it sounds negative. It's not. There's something about the way her size just looked really imposing. And again, I would not have put this match back to back with the match that we just saw, because you had kind of a similar dynamic and similar stories there. Again, they need somebody there to acknowledge these things, and it's small stuff, but it's small stuff that shows that there's cracks in the foundation in one sense, and also a great deal of room to improve with the other. Just by match order alone, they need somebody to regulate this stuff, especially if they're going to increase the amount of matches they're going to do on AEW Dark in the hopes of making it into 2 separate shows a week. They need somebody there to scramble and to make sure that they're not working against themselves through booking order. It really makes a difference. At the end, Ivelisse wins with sort of this octopus variation that I really liked how she got into. Ivelisse is feeling confident. She really shunted a lot of her own offense because Casey's so much bigger than her. And so she stuck with stuff that really made sense and eventually got her in that submission. I like that she got it and Casey was standing, and then dropped to a knee, and then you could feel like Ivelisse was really wrenching it in, and then she tapped out. I really liked it. It had a kind of very realistic feel. I like that they have so many submission finishers amongst the women, because I think that's a way that they can differentiate themselves from what women in wrestling are doing in other spots prominently. And finally, our de facto main event of Best Friends of Chuck Taylor and Trent, with Orange Cassidy there, defeating the Chaos Project, Luther and Serpentico by pinfall. Chaos Project gets their stuff in. Serpentico's afraid to get thrown around, but Luther insists on it. That's really great. Chuck Taylor really pulls his end of the bargain here. Sometimes in the past it seems like he hasn't, but Best Friends right on point, ready to go into this feud with Miro, right, and Kip Sabian. They win. It's a great match. It's 3 check marks because at the end of it, both teams look really great. I love the finish of pushing Serpentico off the top rope as they were going for their finisher, and then Luther getting small packaged and pinned. I'm sure this was Luther's call because I thought it was really cool. And then the brawl happens afterwards where Luther kind of jumps them. And then they get the Best Friends get the better of Chaos Project in the brawl. And then Miro comes and is blocked by a bunch of referees and confronts them. So 3 check marks because this definitely leads into the inevitable Miro and Kip Sabian against Best Friends match. Great show overall. Really, there was some new standouts. I like the Bear team, but I got to say Dani Jordyn takes this one as our developmental enhancement talent of the week. Anyway, we got Dynamite coming up, so let me get this report up. And I'm Steven Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum versus AEW